Welcome everyone to the Fright Corner podcast. This is a special episode because it will not only be released as a podcast, but a video here on YouTube. I'm your host, John, and here with me in person is Jeff.
Hi.
Alright, so this week, this kind of spur of the moment, we played some horror games that you're going to see up on some YouTube channels. But then we decided to go ahead and record the podcast and film the video right now, so... Yeah, I mean, we're not doing a whole lot this week, though.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it.
Just a couple topics. We're going to maybe mention some of the games that we just got done playing. I don't know if we're going to release this in tandem with the games or what the order is going to be exactly. So, anyway, we'll make sure that you know where it's at the end of the show.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, we're going to discuss the movie It, because, of course, the big popular clown sightings that have been happening around the country. So I think we definitely need to touch on that. And then, It, of course, I just recently listened to the book. I've read the book twice, and I've listened to it once. So I kind of compare it a little bit to the movie. And then I think we're going to have a discussion about The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because I have some issues that has come from this.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. So I guess to pull up, this is how prepared we are. I have my phone here that I'm going to read the plot off of.
Yeah.
For It, from 1990. In 1967, outcast kids known as the Loser Club fight an evil demon who possesses a child-killing clown. 30 years later, they reunite to stop the demon once and for all when it returns to their hometown. I don't know how IMDb lets people write this, because obviously it's not a demon. It's not possessing a clown. It is the clown. It is the creature, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it's called It.
Right.
But that's more story of it in the book, though. So overall, Jeff, do you remember watching this one?
I remember watching it when I was a kid, probably 11 or 12. It was one of those deals where, we were on the baseball team together, and we all go to one guy's house, and we watched a scary movie, and it happened to be It. And this was a long time ago, but it always kind of stuck with me for... I mean, not really the movie itself, but just, the visual of the clown, and I think that's what most people have, is the visual of Pennywise.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most iconic thing from the movie is Tim Curry playing Pennywise, which that's hard to replace. And, of course, we do have a remake coming up, which I'm excited for, because the movie, the 1999 miniseries, wasn't bad. It was made for TV, so you're limited. Their budget was somewhat limited. I think they spent more of the money on the actors they got at the time, such as John Ritter, Harry Anderson, Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I think they spent a lot on that, and then they just kind of threw it together. A lot bouncing around in that first part, which is fine, but if you're not used to it, I think it can get real confusing if you don't see the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those ones you can't walk away from.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I didn't see the miniseries. That was separate. Was this a made-for-TV movie?
This was made for TV.
Okay, so that explains a little bit, I think. I mean, you wouldn't even know it, though, if you watched it completely separate, I don't think.
No, because now they got Blu-ray versions and DVD versions. It's all kind of put together. So, and that's fine. But, of course, being on TV, they can't show everything, such as, I go back, because I really enjoyed the book. The book is really good. Because you got a lot of character development. There is some bouncing around, but it's pretty apparent where you're at. And the biggest thing from the book to the movie is you have a little bit more explanation of what it is. Because I think in the book they explain it as it's some kind of life form that came from space before it hit Earth, about the time dinosaurs may have been here. Or even before that.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And it's just survived all that time. And it takes different forms. It takes the forms of your fears.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And with the miniseries, you can't put everything from the book into a movie because it's impossible. I mean, the book's like over 1,000 pages.
Wow.
But all in all, the movie wasn't that bad for the miniseries. John Ritter was pretty good. He was definitely a real enjoyable character to watch on TV anyway, so...
Wait, so when you say miniseries, you're talking about this one movie was just split up in parts or something?
In 2 parts. There was on one night, and then the next night was the second part.
Okay, yeah,
That's what I mean by miniseries, I guess. I should
Okay, I thought that would be kind of weird, because, I can imagine one movie in one sitting that's, it's over 2 hours already, right? I mean, so, split that up with commercials. I mean, you'd be looking at, practically 3.5-hour sit down session. And
well, you're looking at 3 hours and 12 minutes is what the runtime they have on this.
wow, yeah,
and it actually has a rating. I just seen a 6.9 out of 10.
yes, that's pretty high.
So I mean that's pretty high, and I think what really carries it is Tim Curry
yeah,
as Pennywise. That really carries the story. I mean, the movie itself, because he is such an animated guy. Because even from Rocky Horror Picture Show to, he done It. Then he was in that Clue movie.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
And he played Faust in or the Devil in a movie. I mean, just
the one I remember Tim Curry from the most is Muppet Treasure Island. Yeah,
figures.
I really liked him in that one. He was pretty nutty, flirting with Miss Piggy and all that.
Yep. He's pretty nutty, but, he was really good. He really embraced that part. Now, I know with this remake coming up, some people are hesitant because you're not going to replace Tim Curry, because Tim Curry was like lightning in a bottle. But what I've seen that they've done with this one, I think they're going to hit it really good. I'm looking forward to it next year for sure. They've already finished wrapping on the first part of it, so we're going to get that next September. Then shortly after, we'll get the second part. And it's going to be in theaters, a hard R.
Wow.
Because I think that's what we missed in the TV series is they couldn't push the envelope very hard at that time.
Yeah.
They were pretty limited. You couldn't show so much violence.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if they did it nowadays, they might be able to, leading into The Walking Dead that we're going to talk about later.
Yes. But, no, all in all, it was a pretty good movie. I enjoyed it. It's a good one that they made for TV because they wanted to get it out there because it's a popular book. It's still a popular book. So, yeah, all in all, I'd probably give it, as a whole, 7 out of 10. It's not perfect. There seems to be some plot holes that are explained in the book that they don't quite transpire into the TV series that they did as well, but
yeah,
all in all, still pretty good.
Yeah, I think if I had to give it a rating, I would probably go, this is looking from today's standards too, so it's a little different for me. So I would probably go 3.5 out of 5, just because some of the parts seemed a little cheesy still. And I don't know, the whole giant ant thing at the end with the stop motion, it just looked...
Spider.
Yeah, spider. It just looked kind of weird to me. I get they were going for practical effects, right? I mean,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you could tell it was stop motion,
stop motion claim.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, but I mean, made for TV, you've got a certain budget you have to stay under, and obviously that was the best way that they could probably pull it off. So I don't know if I can really count against them for that. I mean, it's just one of those.
It's
things.
what they had at the time.
Yeah,
So that's why I have a hard time of faulting them a whole lot because they were limited on what they could do. Mm-hmm. Limited budget. This is made for TV. You can't push it too hard. So yeah. So all in all, it's still pretty good. It's worth watching. It's definitely an awesome movie, awesome book. If you haven't read the book or even listened to it, find it and listen to it at least. It is long. It's 40 hours to listen to.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Or 46 or something. Hang on, I'll tell you the exact time because I've got on my Audible account. But no, and I think it's read by this Steven Weber, who was in that Wings television show.
Okay, yeah.
But it's 44 hours and 49 minutes.
Yeah, that's quite a lot of content, that's for
sure. And the thing of it is, whenever I read it, at the time I was off for the week, nobody was home, I read it within that week.
Wow.
Just sitting there just reading.
So you think that for a book that length, the payoff is enough to justify it? Or maybe it's one of those deals where it's about the journey, not the destination?
It's going to be the journey, not the destination. Because, but I think in this one we're going to get some payoff in these remakes.
Yeah.
Because they've already shown that, there's a house in the book called on Neibolt Street that's abandoned, where he takes the form of a leper and messes with him. And there's actually shots of that I've seen on Instagram where they've built this set to be this Neibolt Street. They've built the Paul Bunyan statue that plays a part in it. And, I mean, it's like they're taking more elements from the book where they can actually push it hard.
Yeah.
And I figure it's going to be graphic. I mean, because the book was graphic. The first part, you don't see what he does, but he bites the kid's arm off at the first of them. When Georgie's reaching down there, he reaches up there and just bites his whole arm off.
Yeah.
They couldn't show that, but maybe we'll get to see that in
yeah, probably.
This one, something a little bit more graphic.
I would imagine. I would say they're gonna make the clown have a whole makeover as well, right? I mean, make it look even more scary.
Yeah, there's actually pictures of it. I will send you some.
Okay, yeah.
Of it, or actually, we're live. We could do this.
Yeah, we'll even show the camera.
Yes. Let me just pull it up here.
Yeah, because I haven't really researched the new movie a whole lot, but
image.
I can only imagine they give everything a makeover. Like they're doing the new Power Rangers movie, and they did a makeover for the suits and everything. So
Yeah.
everything that was
Power
old,
Rangers, you mean Iron Rangers, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Iron Rangers, ain't it?
They're doing.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah,
but,
kind of like that, and also it's got a
not
real
saying
alien,
nothing bad, just
alien vibe to it as well.
Yes, it does. It very well does. Let's see.
Pretty excited for Bryan Cranston to be Zordon, though. That's gonna be nice.
Oh yeah. It says view original image, and that's what he's gonna look like.
Oh wow, yeah. So we'll show the
show the camera.
I don't know if it'll focus on it or not. I can't really tell. I hope it did it, but if not, you guys can look it up.
Yes, and the guy playing him, I can't pronounce his name, so I'm not even gonna try because I don't want to offend anybody. But
That was my son.
but I can't pronounce it. But he was in this Hemlock Grove series on Netflix.
Okay,
He
yeah, I've
played
heard of
one
that.
of them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to seeing a trailer for it sometime next year, probably. So,
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Nice. So I guess now we move on to The Walking
yes, we will talk about The Walking Dead.
Dead. Oh man. Okay.
A two for
Yeah.
one. I was kind of hoping for 3 at that point. But like, come on, don't finish it. Let's get one more.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. This was a
Well,
rough
let's
one.
start. So where to start? Well, one thing I'll give them, I tweeted a little bit during the show with what I could, but then I got caught up with other stuff. So with
Yeah.
my wife watching and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm actually impressed that AMC did what they did, and they didn't make you wait till the end either. Yeah, you had that first 10-15 minutes there. It's like, oh man, they're gonna make us wait till the very end.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
But no, they were good about, they broke into it and went right to it.
Yeah.
And we knew leading up to this it was going to be bad. And I kind of had a feeling it was going to be Abraham.
Yeah, as much as I didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
And
I think he had a lot more value than a lot of others.
yeah, he was funny and he was strong and just.
But that's
overall-
probably why Negan targeted him, though, because
Yeah.
that was, when everybody else is kind of hunkering down, he sets up to him, like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And even if they had, if Abraham had survived and they had to work for Negan, I don't think Abraham would have gone along with it very well, and he would have been resisting it the entire time, and he might have gotten himself killed anyway. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, in the comics, he was already dead at
Yeah.
this point, before they ever ran into Negan. So, they kind of had to fill it out somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got the, Abraham's death and sitting there still talking and stuff, and, Daryl loses his cool, and I'm still sticking by it. This is Daryl's fault. If he would just sit there and shut up and not moved and not punched him, this wouldn't have happened.
It was an emotional moment, though.
It was emotional, but, he told me, he said he would shut that shit down, and he shut it down, because he just told him, said, well, back at it.
Yeah. And he wanted to channel Daryl's rage. He didn't want to kill him, so.
Well, now he's making Daryl live with that guilt that
Yeah.
I just got him killed.
Yeah, that too. So.
That, when we were watching and stuff, and he's sitting there playing with the bat, going back over there, and my wife's like, well, what's he going to do? And I said, I said, well, say goodbye to Glenn. And she said, what about that time he turned around and cracked him right over the head?
Yeah.
So, well, say goodbye to Glenn.
Yep. And the makeup on that scene, too, is just
Yes.
crazy.
That was huge. That was awesome makeup. Awesome effect all the way. Practical effect all the way around was good.
Yeah, Greg Nicotero is really
Yes.
mastered this craft. I mean, he's got it down to an art now, so.
Well, he stayed under Tom Savini, so
Yeah.
go figure. Tom Savini's one of the greats
Yeah.
for practical effects. All in all, the episode wasn't that bad.
No, it was really good. I was under the impression that it was going to be like an hour and a half or a 2-hour special.
That's what I thought.
But then I guess what they meant to say was Talking Dead is going to be an hour and a half special. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was cool too, though.
Yeah, I mean, no, it was enjoyable too, but yeah, definitely having, the 2 deaths right there within the first half hour.
Yeah.
I mean, he kills Abraham, and within 5 minutes, Glenn's dead.
Yeah. And then we all know that Carl almost lost his arm, but I don't know if they were going to do it or not. I mean, a lot of people speculated that they would just because, or that Rick would cut his own arm off because in the comics he lost his.
He doesn't have part of his right arm anyway.
Yeah. So
Pass the hand. No, and actually that does bring up something, though. It reminds me, just because of where my head goes about stuff. It has a religious aspect there where, Negan's playing God. Because remember, part of that Bible thing has, he tells Abraham to go kill his son. And then at the very end, oh, no, stop, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just joking, you don't have to do it. Pretty much what he did to Rick. Got him to that point that, it's like, okay, stop. He was playing God with him, saying, I can make you do whatever I want.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought of it that way. But it
he wants
applies.
He wants that assertive control.
Yeah, and he got it. He broke Rick at the very end, so...
Finally broke him.
Yeah.
Now, of course, in the comics, it makes it sound that way, but yet in the comics, if I remember right, he was never really broken because he said, no, we're just kind of holding back till we figure something out to get him, because there's a lot of guys.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'll be kind of the same in the show.
Where he's trying to hold back a little bit and not let people know what he's going to do, because who do you trust?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the Kingdom is going to be in the next episode. And
that's what it looked like on that Talking Dead.
Yeah, originally that was going to be episode 3, but I guess they switched them around for some reason. There's a Facebook group called The Spoiling Dead, and they actually released like the first 7 episode synopsis or whatever, and so they actually predicted all of this, and it seems like it's legit. So the Kingdom episode was originally going to be the 3rd episode, so I don't know why they switched it, what prompted them to do that, but yeah, so...
Maybe they don't want to shove Negan down everybody's throat too hard after last week. After last week, everybody's heartbroken, boo-hooing, and...
Yeah, so I wouldn't expect to see Rick next week. I think we're going to be stuck with just Morgan and Carol.
Yeah, and then we meet Ezekiel and Shiva, and...
Yeah, King Ezekiel coming in. That's
King Ezekiel.
Another thing. So.
His loyal pet Shiva.
Yeah. So... But, yeah, I mean, crazy stuff happens in the comics, so, I mean, there's a full-on war. Rick has an army versus Negan's army, and...
Yeah. Now, one time Hilltop tries to betray him a little bit, where you're like, no, we're not going to do that. But how's that going to work? They've already killed Gregory in the show, though.
Yeah.
So, and then the other issue is, though, I mean, obviously they can change whatever they want from comics to the TV show. That's fine.
Yeah.
However... I remember in the comics that Ezekiel and Michonne have something together, too.
Yeah.
But now they've kind of changed that dynamic where she's with Rick now. So, kind of with him, I guess. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that I would count them as being together. Who knows? I mean, maybe the Ezekiel guy will kind of come in and break that up and, cause more issues. But, I don't know. I mean, I know they're not a whole lot further past the whole Negan angle. Once they beat Negan, it skips forward by, 2 years or something. And Negan actually, there's this new group called the Whisperers, and I think there's a group called Alpha, and Rick has to deal with them, and meanwhile Negan is Rick's prisoner. And in this chaos, I guess Negan escapes, and that's pretty much where they're at right now. So it gets pretty crazy. I mean, Rick, when he's at war with Negan, Rick calls a truce, and this is all in the comics, so I mean, it's kind of a spoiler, but then kind of
spoiler
not.
for the comics. Whether or not they do on the show, who knows?
It could be totally different. Because I mean, Daryl's a complete wild card. He doesn't exist in the comics. I think most people know that, but and so Rick calls a truce with Negan, and then Rick actually tricks him and slits Negan's throat, and Negan survives, and he takes him as prisoner, and Rick basically wants to break Negan at this point and make him suffer, and then that's when they have 2 years pass, and I think that point is kind of interesting because. You might think about this. I mean, Carl, the actor who plays him should be old enough, Chandler Riggs, he should be old enough by that point where they can skip forward 2 years and he doesn't really look way different, Yeah,
it's like right now they kind of got shifted a little bit the opposite way, where he looks older than what he should be. It's like, wait a minute, if this has been going on for this long, how can he be this old?
Yeah. So, I mean, right now, as long as they film on a yearly schedule, then, it's going to look normal progression. But when they get to that part where they jump forward 2 years, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like the ending of Harry Potter where suddenly we're supposed to think that Harry's 30-something when he still looks 25 or whatever. Yeah. So, I don't know.
No,
it'll be interesting.
And, of course, we do have to talk about this. There was some backlash from this episode. Not from the fans, but from the Parent Television Council. These people can just suck it. This was never marketed as a family show. It said, warning, violent graphic content ahead.
Yeah.
If you sit down and let your kids watch it, and you don't want them to watch it, that's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm concerned, after 8 o'clock, everything should be free game, except you might not throw full nudity on the screen, whatever. But for the language and graphic and stuff, let it go. Because that time of night, fair game.
Yeah, everything was within regulation. This is cable TV. We pay for this specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, they should just... I mean, have they ever been relevant? Like, have they ever mattered, even?
No, because they've complained about other stuff. They could complain about American Horror Story Hotel last season because of all the sex in it. Whoop-de-doo. They've complained about Walking Dead before.
Yeah. So basically, we should just make every channel PBS.
That's what they want, but I'm tired of them dictating what we can or can't do, because that's BS. You ain't going to tell me what I can and can't watch. My son is 11. Now, I was watching reaction videos on YouTube, and he was in there watching them with me. And, he's seen it, but it didn't bother him because he's like, hey, they did pretty good on the special effects. He knew it was special effects. If you don't want your kids to see that, don't let them see it. If you're going to let them see it, you need to explain to them what's real and what's not real.
Yeah.
That's very important. I've done that with my son. I've taught him, this stuff is not real. Mm-hmm. This is for fun. These are makeup effects. People are dressed up. They got gore, fake blood, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah.
He's like, wow, so they did pretty good on that.
Yeah.
He knew what was going on.
Yeah, I've done podcasts on this in the past where I talked about desensitization. And, I think there's a good and bad aspect to it. I mean, if you're desensitized to it, maybe your son's not going to have nightmares because of this, because you are teaching him that, the boogeyman's not real and, stuff like that. But on the other hand, people could argue, well, it's going to make them more violent in the future. Like, they'll be morbid and want to, dissect lizards or something. But I think desensitization is good to an extent, and I don't think it's a bad thing to let your kids know that, bad things happen and this isn't necessarily real. So, I don't know. It's hard to explain where I'm going, but I think people might understand, hopefully. Maybe.
Well, I would think so, because, like I said, I don't see where they have the right to step in and say, you need to remove this from the cable bundle. Well, we're already paying for it. I have DirecTV because my local cable carrier doesn't carry AMC, and I want AMC, so I have to get satellite.
Yeah.
So I'm having to pay extra to get that. So don't remove it and say, well, it needs to be a special channel, because that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, especially when you get something like HBO and it's on cable. It's all through the same or Dish Network or whatever. We're giving plugs all over the place here.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Everybody gets a Mediacom.
Yeah, so if you're paying for it and it's all delivered through the same system, I don't know. I think people should ease up on the censorship and just let people watch what they want to watch.
And I posted this on Facebook, and somebody mentioned something about, what about the clothing these girls wear on these singing shows? Well, first off, I don't watch the overrated karaoke singers. I don't watch them. I don't care about The Voice. I don't care about America's Got Talent. Whoever this was, Teen Talent, whatever they are. I could care less about them. That's their own problem. They're on prime time. If they got a problem with it, that's maybe where they should be worried about. Mm-hmm. But this wasn't prime time. Yeah. And this was not promoted as a family show.
Right.
So, get over it.
Yeah, late at night, I think most of the kids should be in bed if you're a responsible parent, or to some extent, or at least not have them in front of the TV when you have these kinds of shows on. I don't think nudity is a problem. I would be fine with nudity on AMC. Wieners out, boobs out, I don't care.
Whatever.
This is all the same thing. You just have ample warnings in the guides and be responsible. That's all it boils down to. You don't need to censor everything and dictate what people say. At what point does it stop,
Well, that's just it. It's like are they going to come out? They're already trying to tell us how we have to eat and everything else, which, look at me, I'm one shape. Don't tell me what to eat. I know what I'm supposed to eat, but I'm not going to do it if I don't want to.
Well, plus, you can't even trust half the stuff they tell you to eat.
No.
GMOs, don't even get me started on that. That's a whole other podcast. But, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, but the censorship thing, they need to back off, because they had to put this in front of the FCC, and the FCC said, you got the warning, go for it. Mm-hmm. Not much you can do.
Yeah.
Now see, this was more graphic than what you'll see in some old 80s slasher movies. If they would have had that back in the 80s, which I'm sure they've had some like that, they sent them to the rating board, and they come back saying, we're rating this thing X-rated because it's too violent.
Yeah.
And think of how many cuts Friday the 13th. I think that Friday the 13th had like 7 to 10 cuts before they got an R rating, because they kept sending it X, 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 because it was too violent, too gory.
Yeah.
And there's some really good effects, but they had to tone it down. Now you look at that, it's like, yeah, it's got some graphics to it, but not like what we just seen Sunday night. on The Walking
Yeah.
Dead when Negan beat their skulls in.
Yeah, especially when the graphics and the special effects are so realistic. Like
Yes.
I talked to a guy I know who used to be like kind of a war veteran, and he said that when people get hit in the head like Glenn did, that's actually what happens. Like their eyes can be popped out and all kinds of stuff. So I mean, it messed with him a little bit. I know that it stayed with him.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'm going to continue to watch it. Now, American Horror Story, it was on last night from where we're recording this, and they had a scene similar. Whether or not they get in trouble for it, I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see if they have a problem with that, too, because it was on at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, whatever.
Right. And we should say this is on FX, which is pretty similar to AMC. I mean,
yes, very similar.
It's adult cable.
Yeah, it's like Spike TV and AMC and FX. I mean, they're made for the adult viewer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this isn't Nick Jr. or anything.
No, and it's not like they're playing this during the day. It wasn't
Right.
like this was on at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when your kid's home from school.
Yeah.
This wasn't on.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think censorship should be, taking a step back, especially on the internet. And on the internet, that's what scares me, is if they're going to try and start censoring the internet. What else are you going to take? But like I said, that's all a different issue. But overall, The Walking Dead, fantastic episode.
Yes.
I hate to see Abraham and Glenn go like that, but I don't know. I mean, that's just how it has to be. This is a story, and the story has to have arcs.
And I think their arc was, Abraham's could have went for maybe a little bit longer, but like you say, he probably would have got himself killed anyway because he wasn't going to fall in line anyway. So, yeah. Glenn, his arc may have technically been over because Maggie wasn't wanting him to do as much all the time, and so maybe his role was kind of done anyway. When you think about it, it's like, how much value is he going to have?
Yeah.
But
That's my son. I don't know if we're going to leave this in or not, but but
on the audio, it probably will be.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do a whole lot of editing
Okay.
if you can't figure this out yet.
Yeah. It'll be fine. People understand. We have families, damn it.
It's raw and uncut.
Yeah, exactly. We're uncensored here. Jeez.
So, yeah. All in all, good episode. I think it's going to be a good season. And the way I look today, they said Jeffrey Dean Morgan's contract is extended. So we may see Negan for the next couple of seasons at least.
Yeah, he has to be, at least as far as the comic goes anyway. He's going to make the governor look like... I mean, he already has made the governor look like...
Yeah, the governor looks like a walk in the park compared to what he's going to do. I mean, he has no... And actually, they're getting off easy when you think about it. Yeah, looking at both perspectives. Like that Jeffrey was talking about on that Walking Dead, he said, I have to play him as that he's doing right.
Yeah.
He said, if I play him as this, then nobody's going to believe it.
Yeah. I mean, every villain is a hero in their own mind.
Yep.
So, I mean, they have to have their own justification. And like you said, I mean, it was kind of letting them off easy. I mean, we're attached to the group, and that's why it matters so much to us. But for Negan...
But if we were on the other side of it, maybe it'd be different.
I mean, Rick's group killed how many people? So, I mean, just losing 2 people is pretty
and
good.
was just going to be one until Daryl...
Yeah.
Daryl! Let's get this straight. Daryl's fault.
Thanks, John. We just lost about 50 listeners, probably.
Hey,
They
too
all
bad.
hate us now. No, yeah, and I'm sure Daryl feels very bad about that.
No,
He's
and that's
probably
going to make
stay
him
with-
suffer. That's going to make him suffer more than anything, is that he has to live with that guilt now. Now he's separated from the group.
Yeah.
So he's got to swim in his own idea that I just caused Glenn to get killed because I couldn't keep my cool.
And I just hope that he doesn't get all upset and suicidal like he has been in past seasons, where he's just like not caring about anything. And like,
I don't know. I guess we'll see what they do with him. I mean, maybe they're trying to figure out what to do with him. Maybe they're wondering if maybe it's time to part ways with Daryl eventually.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it might be interesting if Daryl like pretends like he turns on to the Savior's side and he pretends like he's working with them to get like in on the inside or something. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do, but it'll be interesting.
Which that could be very possible. No, it's all good.
Very polite son.
No, but no. All in all, good show. I'm curious to see where they go with it because they can do so much. They have their options. They don't have to stick with the comics.
Yeah.
Which I did put on there. I think that if it would just been Glenn that got killed, I would have felt cheated because it's like, what's the surprise?
Yeah.
Abraham, because it kind of changed his dynamic from the comics, so it's a little bit different. Like, hey, wait a minute. He was coming into a role in this where he was starting to matter. He got his head back, and he was ready to move forward with this and give hope.
Yeah, that's kind of the rough thing. Is like it seems like every time a character goes off the deep end, right as soon as they come back, boom, they're dead.
Yeah.
So I mean, except for Rick, luckily, but he's got to survive, obviously. So.
Yeah, and everybody says, "Well, they killed Daryl. I'll quit watching." If they kill Rick, I'll quit watching.
Oh yeah, I would.
I'm sorry, I can't do it
for me.
Because Rick's At first, he tried to be easy, like, "No, we're not going to be like all these other people," and then he finally said, "You know what? Screw it."
Yeah.
And
later on, that's one of the things. Like, I think there's a conversation between Rick and Negan when Negan's in the jail cell after like Rick has beaten him and everything, where Negan is talking about how Rick is going to turn into Negan eventually. Like Negan's like, you're going to have to make these decisions and you're going to have to be tough, otherwise they're not going to respect you. And Rick's like, well, F you, I'm going to do it my way and do what I want. And, I'm not taking advice from you.
And plus he gets that pleasure of torturing Negan that I still beat you and I didn't have to kill you to do it.
Yeah. In the comics, they use some very foul language, and you're right.
Yes,
Rick definitely talks him down, treats him like his dog. Basically.
Yeah. Like, I beat you.
Yeah.
I single-handedly beat you.
Yeah.
Virtually, everybody else.
And one thing I do want to throw in is about the whole hand getting cut off. One of the reasons, back a long time ago when Rick was having that meeting with the governor out in that shack, is when, in the comics, Rick got his hand chopped off by the governor. And they said the reason they didn't do that in the TV show is because, say for example, in the comics, if Rick was giving a speech on top of a car, you could just draw him on top of the car. But in the TV show, if you want to have Rick on top of a car, you've got to show him like climbing with his stubby hand on top of the car, and it's just not practical. Plus, you got to have him wrapped in green screen the entire time or whatever, and so it's just a lot more expensive and not really worth it. So, not to say it couldn't happen in the future. I mean, Herschel lost his leg or whatever, but I mean, it's a leg you can keep off camera pretty easily, but an arm, not so much. So it's
because that's pretty a main focal point. If you're not looking at their head, you're.
Yeah. Plus, I want Rick to have both his hands. I mean, nothing against people who don't have their hands, I guess, but
no. It's just I think for the dynamic for the show, he needs to keep them. Show that dominance.
Yeah, he needs.
But if he does lose it, he can still show dominance, though.
Yeah, but hopefully it won't come to that. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's all speculation, really. Robert Kirkman is still making the show up as he goes, kind of.
Yeah,
so.
Let's change this. Let's change that.
And Scott Gimple, got to give him credit too.
Yes,
he's a big part of this. So, yeah.
I still think the perfect ending for the series will be he wakes up out of a coma and it's all a dream, and his wife's there, and Herschel's the doctor, and Daryl's an orderly, and Glenn's a flower delivery guy, and his son's reading a zombie comic in the corner, and
I don't know how I feel about how
Michonne's a nurse.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden sirens go off like, oh, that's funny, and then it pans out and there's a huge horde of zombies coming for Atlanta.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And then end of series. We're done.
But then is his partner still hooking up with Lori? Now I can't even believe I'm spacing on his name.
Shane?
Yeah, Shane. Yeah, I can't believe I spaced on it. But Shane. Is Shane still hooking up with Lori then?
Maybe. Maybe Shane's married to Andrea by this point.
He can have her. I hate Andrea.
Well, Andrea's supposed to still be alive according to the comics, see, because her and Rick have a little thing going on in the comics compared to...
I'm so glad that didn't happen in real life. Nothing against the actress, but I hated Andrea, and I'm glad Rick is not with her in the TV show.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
All right. I think this will be it. So, until next time, watch something that scares you, and we'll see you right here next time in the Fright Corner.
Without you and me, so we climb up on our roofs to throw ourselves from it, because doom, death, and destruction